Hello there, everyone. Welcome to thematani.com. I am Hendrick Tallardar today, and I'm joined by Takashawa, and we are looking at probably one of the best games that's going to be coming out in the future, in my opinion. It's a nostalgic game called Wasteland 2, and it's based off the Wasteland series. And Takashawa, let's just talk it through it. What is this game about?
The thing, it's a classic, old-school, four-member party-based RPG set in a post-apocalyptic wasteland. Think like a party-based isometric Fallout. And what I really, really love about having played this a bit in its alpha or beta or whatever it's in now, is that they've really managed to perfectly blend everything that we loved about the feel and the style of old-school RPGs with modern conveniences. For example, we have menus that work, as you can see now. We have sort of really clear, multiple ways to navigate through. It's pretty. It's not, monochrome and, the way that a lot of other stuff from the 70s and 80s was. And I love that blend. Playing this game feels like I'm playing something. Reminds me a lot of Torchlight 2 and Torchlight, and how it was basically the same game as Diablo, but with everything quality of life-wise just better.
Yeah, and as you can see in the screen right now, I was going through and setting up a custom character. Obviously, because it's an RPG-heavy game, you can customize your characters. You can have very unique and very defined characters, kind of like how games used to be. And you didn't have a generic run-of-the-mill party of everyone having the same set of skills. It was, this guy is my sniper, this guy is my demolitions guy. It's very fun.
Absolutely. And it reminds me a lot of building, in that sense, it reminds me a lot of building custom classes in games that we haven't seen since Neverwinter Nights and, Morrowind. We haven't seen this ability to build custom classes on a large scale. I mean, it's there in certain games, but it's not the same.
Yeah, and,
This is
it's
the
just
shit
something
we grew
really
up
nice.
with.
This is stuff that a lot of people in their mid to late 20s, early 30s to late 40s to early 40s all grew up with in the 1990s and late 80s. And it's so wonderful to see this coming back. Obviously, this is an indie game by In Exile Entertainment, which is still headed by the guys who created the original Fallout games and Wasteland 1.
And this was crowdfunded as well, notable. I mean, this is one of the early games that really sort of has showed us something great. I mean, this and Elite Dangerous, I think, are the two things that come to mind that are really showing us amazing things from crowdfunding. Maybe Planetary Annihilation as well. But in the RPG space, this stands alone.
Yep, and as you can see, an entire party is chosen. There's the one custom character with 3 pre-built characters. Now, to skip over, we did skip over some of the story options and dialogue just to get straight into the meat of the game.
And to avoid spoilers.
Yeah, and to avoid spoilers. This is fairly early on. It's probably like one of the first missions in the game.
This is, in fact, the first mission.
Yes, actually it is. So, moving around is very similar to an isometric RPG game like Diablo or Fallout like we were talking about. Right-click is to move, you use WASD to move the camera around, that sort of thing. And you go through the story and you can explore and discover new items like this Ranger badge I just picked up. And what's really nice about this game is there's actually a kind of unique dialogue option. And you'll see it in a minute, where you can actually type in the response rather than just clicking the button. I don't know specifically how that's going to play out overall in the late game, but it's a nice little option that In Exile threw in. And I kind of get it wrong. I try to type in what I would want to say personally, but it doesn't really take it.
It's a really nice immersion element there. Yeah, I mean, the thing about it, right, is like old school RPGs were really about sinking you into a role and into a world, and clicking around a radial menu of different dialogue options sort of distances you from that, when it's like you have 3 preset options. Having this where you can, even if it's just in function, if not in form, is just fabulous. I genuinely enjoy sort of that old school style, but with modern function. As we look at combat here, it's a perfect example, Hendrick.
Yeah, and so this is the combat system. It's very turn-based heavy, and it's very nice. And I grew up on a game like this in Fallout, so seeing turn-based games come back in a bit of resurgence with the more recent XCOM games, and that's just great. Now, the one thing I will say, and this is like my only biggest gripe with the game, is a lot of the art assets seem to be reused a lot, but I do attribute that to more of it being an indie game rather than a AAA big budget studio working on the title.
I give that to indie, and I honestly, I'm a person who, at this point, there's a lot of games I can play if I want something shiny and different everywhere I go, and I want to look at pretty pictures. There's not a lot of places I can go for in-depth, sort of like evolving, player-driven storyline gameplay, and Wasteland is one of those places. So I'm willing to forgive the fact that everything is brown, because the story and the engagement with the world is so compelling.
And to be fair to NXIL Entertainment, this game does take place in the American Southwest, so everything is brown out there anyway.
Yeah, that's a very good point, and it's all been nuked, so it's brown and then nuked. So, really, would we expect anything different?
Yeah, so what's really nice about this game is there's lots of options with your loadouts and your kits and how you interact with the environment around you. As you can see, healing is a thing, but it takes up your action points. And so again, it's becoming a very tactical game in terms of combat and fighting against the AI.
I will say one of the things in the game that I both love and hate is that it, and perhaps this is a function of it being still in beta and not, full release yet, there's lots still to be added to this game and still to be iterated on, is that it's a game which I found to be refreshingly challenging, but also in some senses opaque. There's a lot of stuff that you just sort of dive in and figure out as you're playing, and I love that a lot of the time, but there are a few things that could be explained a little bit more in certain areas, and I'm frankly struggling to come up with a specific example right now, but it's just sort of explaining the interface and things like that a little bit more, because we're not used to having this full-featured an interface in older games of this type, because the technology couldn't support it at the time, and so there was no need to explain all the interface back then, but maybe there is now.
But yeah, that was our preview of Wasteland 2. It is in Steam Early Access right now, as well as you can buy it through NXIL's website. For more videos and previews, visit thematani.com.